Welcome to the Parkinson's Disease Education Show, where we demystify the disease and empower you as the person with Parkinson's disease to reach your true potential. The content contained on this show is for informational purposes only and is not meant to be a replacement for information or advice that you receive from your in-person medical or therapy professionals. If you haven't already, I hope you'll consider subscribing, and for an even more personalized experience, please ask us about our memberships. Now, without further ado, let's start the show. Howdy, folks, and Happy New Year. It is time for the inaugural What's Next Wednesday of 2026. For those of you joining me for the first time, welcome. My name is Dr. Michael Hyland. I'm a physical therapist by profession, but coming to you as the Parkinson's Disease Education channel here on YouTube, and also the podcast, of course. This is a couple times a month I try to do an update with you all, and that's what this is. So just wanted to jump on and share with you my thoughts on upcoming content for the year, or not for the year, but for the next couple of, that'd be kind of something, having an entire year planned out. But really just trying to come up with some ideas for topics for the next upcoming videos and podcast episodes. And I have some ideas in mind. I want to throw those out there and get your opinion on those. While I'm thinking about it, I'm going to share this in a couple other places on Facebook. I have a couple of topic ideas in mind, and I wanted to get your input on those. I actually had a poll ready on the YouTube side, and I accidentally deleted it, so I'm going to have to retype it. But I thought I would poll the audience while we're here live anyway. So a couple of things that have come up in the comment sections, and that's kind of where I glean a lot of ideas for topics, is honestly just going through where people ask questions about things I haven't covered before or haven't thought of covering, and it's like, yeah, that's a good idea. So there's and also I'll be inspired sometimes by things that will come up. Sometimes it's good information, and sometimes it's not good information that will come up in different places in the comment sections. One of the most recent episodes I did in the end of 2025 was about scams that you might run into. And so it's the good, bad, and the ugly, right? But yeah, so the scams, one of the things I didn't talk about in that video was called the PD-5 protocol. So the PD-5 protocol is something that you see a lot of these comments in basically every Parkinson's Facebook group of, oh, the PD-5 protocol helped me, that cured me of Parkinson's, or whatever the claims are. So that's one I didn't think about covering, but I thought about talking about it again, or doing a new episode on that. Also, I was thinking about covering the neuroanatomy of Parkinson's disease, if that's of interest to anybody. Basically, not just talking about dopamine, but kind of talking about where, literally the structures that are involved, where they're located in the brain, and the impact that has on production of dopamine, what dopamine even is as a chemical, why it's important. There was another topic that's escaping me now. There was a third one. I had it in the poll and I already forgot it. I write things down so I don't forget them, and then I promptly deleted it and forgot it. So let me just do this real quick. Are any of these topics? I'm just writing this in the poll really quick. And I just wanted to do this on YouTube, particularly on the poll side. And if you have other ideas, you can leave them in the comments in the chat. I'd be happy to take that into consideration, because you all are who I'm trying to serve here. So it's not about what I want to talk about. I really want to know what you want to learn about. If I've talked about it before, I'll point you to the video or episode I've done on it. I wish I could remember what that third thing was. Okay, anyway, other, leave in comments or chat. And if anybody's here live, by the way, say hi to in the comments or the live chat. I'd love to say hi back and highlight you on the episode on the live stream. Dang, that's frustrating. I can't read that third thing. Oh, maybe one thing I could add is I don't think this is the one I had earlier, but there was a new medication that came out last year. Tavapadon. It's a dopamine agonist. So if you're interested in learning more about that, let me know as well. Okay, let me just start this poll. You can add any other information. This is on YouTube, sorry, not on Facebook if you're watching on Facebook. But I just started that poll on the YouTube side. So, hi, Michael. Fellow Michael here. There need to be more of us. Actually, there are quite a bit of Michaels from my generation, but I'm turning 40 next month, so there's a lot less Michaels, though, these days than there were in the 80s and 90s, or those born in the 80s and 90s. But anyway, I don't know if you all have heard of those things I just mentioned, but as far as like the PD-5 protocol, but there's all these invasions that will happen in the comment sections where people will say, people will comment something completely unrelated, or they'll post something, and in the comments, I think they're robots or not, you know what I mean? They're bots. They're not humans. It's like a computer going in the comment section and spitting out this blurb about this or that treatment or the other. As far as I know, PD-5 is some kind of herbal remedy. And the herbal, any kind of supplements or herbal remedies, I'm not against any of that. I just don't like when they post those things in comment sections because it's really misleading. And they also have external websites that take you away from where you are to go purchase something. So I'm actually surprised we don't have quite as many. It may just be the time of day. Usually I have at least a few people more than we have right now live, but that's okay if we don't. I know there's going to be replays. People watch it later. I don't see any votes on the poll yet, so that's fine. But yeah, let me know in the chat what you think. If there's any topics that jump out at you that you would like to have covered, I'd be happy to do videos on those. And it may have been covered before, but like I said, I will link it, reference that if I have done it before. See, I'm not going to necessarily do a new video on it if it's been covered, but I usually try to update things too if there's any new information. Yeah, so I'm just giving you all just a few minutes to, not a few minutes, a couple minutes here to answer that poll if you're on the YouTube side, and then otherwise I'll probably wrap this up in a second. Oh, I just saw your next comment, Michael, about so Ayurvedic natural dopamine. I'm not sure if you're lumping those together because Mucuna pruriens definitely is a supplemental version of dopamine that you could potentially use to treat, or either to be an adjunct to what you're doing with medication or to try to replace medication with. I did cover Mucuna in a previous episode, And so there's definitely some merit in that for sure. But I don't know if you were lumping that with Ayurvedic medicine, because that would be more like, I guess, Eastern. Or Ayurveda would be more of. I'm sorry, I'm liking the terms not coming to me. Is Hindu or Eastern Indian remedies. Um, Makuna is used all over the world, so it's definitely not just limited to Ayurveda, if that's what you're referring to. Um, I've actually I have seen some other recommendations in that light, um, as far as more natural remedies, but I don't know much more about the specifics on that. Some people would recommend combination of yoga, for example, with Ayurveda. Um, you know, if it works for you, that's fine. I just don't know if that's, there's much merit to it other than anecdotes. But again, it's something to consider looking into, um, as a potential topic. I don't see the poll on my end now that I'm looking at it. If you're on YouTube, I don't. Yeah, Michael, you're on YouTube. Do you see a poll? Because I don't see it on my end on the public side. Maybe I have it on the wrong thread. Oh, I know why. I know why. I've got two streams going. One's vertical, one's uh, horizontal. So, sorry, that's my problem. My bad. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree that natural recommendations are, or I disagree that I agree rather that um, natural remedies are worthwhile as a topic. Um, I just don't always prescribe to that because um, it just depends on the natural remedy we're talking about. Is all I'm saying. There's definitely there's a lot of supplements out there. A lot of there's no poll. Thank you. A lot of supplements out there. There's a lot of herbal remedies out there recommended, and I just there's also an equal amount of valid medical treatments too. So it's but again, I'm happy to cover it and talk about it, and so I'll consider the Ayurvedic um, remedies, and but yeah, I'll actually while you're here, Michael, let me link let me give you a link to the Makuna video that I did before. What I try to do is I try to cover it from a scientific perspective as well, and just say like, hey, where's the evidence showing that this could be beneficial? But I also try to go into why it might be beneficial scientifically, even if there isn't existing evidence like clinical trials, things like that. So I try not to. I'm not trying to completely dismiss things, but I do try to at least um, make it known that if something doesn't have a lot of clinical research, I don't sugarcoat it. I just try to say, yeah, you can try this. It may work well for you, but there's probably not a lot of actual evidence that it could work in some cases, depending on what it is. I mean, I've actually heard some doctors that are neurologists just outright say, "Yeah, you shouldn't take Makuna. You don't need to worry about that stuff." That's just one example. I don't like dismissive attitudes about things, though. It doesn't seem like there's any curiosity there with that attitude, And curiosity is very important in science. It's important in certainly in medicine, and um, you just don't get anywhere with that. I'm sorry. The live stream is making this so slow. Um, I'm not able to get that link for you, but um, I'll leave it in the comments after the live stream if I can, or I should say if I can. When I get done with the live stream, I'll leave it in the comment section. And Robert says, thank you for watching live and commenting. Says that Tavapadon is coming in 2026. Yeah, actually, that was one of the ones I had on the poll. I realized the issue um, with the reason the poll isn't showing up everywhere is because I've got a vertical live stream and a horizontal live stream going, and I accidentally put the poll on the vertical one. There's probably less people watching on that one, so my bad. I'm just gonna get a poll from discussing it with you live like this. But anyway, Tavapadon was one of the ones I put on there, and yes, I would definitely consider covering it. I'd be happy to. It's a new um, it's a new dopamine agonist. I think I mentioned that in the very early part of the live stream. And you mentioned it hits D1, D5. I'm assuming that's dopamine receptors. And so yes, it's it's a different version of dopamine agonist and supposed to work more long term. I guess more of a long acting form versus taking it multiple times a day. And these long acting medications are starting to really take off, and they're getting better. You know, right? Ritari was, as far as like carbidopa, levodopa. Ritari was the first kind of like carbidopa, levodopa that was a long acting, and it just doesn't have the best results with everybody. Crexont is the one that came out in 2024. I think it was 24, yeah. And Crexont actually, I've had multiple physical therapy patients I've worked with or am working with that are on Crexont and doing really well with it. So compared, and so there's some people that were on Rytari that went to Crexont and did better. So whatever the mechanism is on Crexont, they seem to have gotten it pretty well compared to some. But yeah, Tavapadon is definitely one on my list. So yes, for sure. Michael said straight up is the best way to be. I agree. I try not to. I try not to dance around stuff. And I also try to be honest. Like if I'm not sure about something, I'll make sure to try to say that. Um, and Robert confirmed that it was dopamine receptors he meant by D1, D5. So yeah, thank you. And then he said, Michael said, when do you need an agonist? That's a good question. So the best answer to that is that sometimes, so let's say, for example, someone's initially on carbidopa, levodopa, or just regular levodopa when they first get diagnosed with Parkinson's, they might have, it might be effective for quite a while, but because of wearing off periods, like where the dose is waning off and they're starting to have more symptoms show up between doses, a lot of times dopamine agonists, which they mimic dopamine, but they aren't dopamine. So basically, once they enter the brain, they act like dopamine and stimulate those receptors. Whereas levodopa acts as a synthetic form of dopamine in the brain. Anyway, dopamine agonists are often used to supplement, essentially, the carbidopa, levodopa. But here's the thing: dopamine agonists can actually be taken by themselves as a monotherapy, meaning they could be taken by themselves without levodopa being in the picture and still have a positive effect on symptoms. So that's the short answer, is that you might need a dopamine agonist if carbidopa, levodopa, or levodopa is not enough by itself, and you need an extra mechanism to get more dopamine released. And or it could be a medication taken by itself to treat Parkinson's symptoms. And it certainly can work that way. The only problem with agonists is they tend to have, not everybody that takes them has these problems, but there are some problematic side effects with dopamine agonists. And sometimes that can be an issue for some folks. I did cover dopamine agonist mechanisms and the existing medications that have been on the market so far in a video a couple years ago that I could also link and give you a reference to that. You can obviously see them on the channel and search that. I just want to make it easy for you to find. But that's about it. So basically, Tavapadon definitely is one on my list. I'll cover that soon. And so that, probably the PD-5 protocol, maybe the neuroanatomy of Parkinson's, kind of where in the brain it lives and the exact locations of things. Anatomy and physiology is a favorite topic of mine, so I love teaching about the anatomy of things, even if it's not everybody's cup of tea. But so some people may not like that. I think that's something I like to cover at some point because people hear about dopamine, but they don't really hear about how it works or how where they may not be able to picture where in the brain things are happening, things like that. So those 2 or 3 topics I'm probably going to cover in the next month. And so I can't promise this Saturday, although that's possible, but I usually release new episodes on Saturday mornings. So if it's not this coming Saturday, probably the 17th, I'm guessing, will be the first one, whichever topic it's going to be. Well, thanks for being here. I usually don't do this for quite this long, but I had some good interaction. I wanted to chat with you all. So thanks for being here live with me, and look forward to seeing you in the premiere of the newest episode whenever it happens to drop, whether it's this weekend or next. And Michael and Robert, thanks for your comments and interaction today. I appreciated it. And I'll see you next time. Be empowered.